Yu Hyun then asked if they were going inside. Hyujin said yes. He then told Manhwa to be the vanguard. Manhwa understood. Yu Hyun then wondered at that, seeing the two of them in front. Hyujin thought, they're probably not used to letting a kid take the front. Despite her appearance, she's actually the sturdiest among all of them. They'll have to get used to stuff like this now. And they then entered the gate. Once inside, the environment they were in then changed drastically. They looked curiously around. Hyujin felt that the place was really dark, a field in the form of an expansive swamp. Mud underfoot, like you'd expect from a gate no one has any info on because it was never cleared. Even the environment is unfamiliar. For now, he will check the terrain to be sure. In the midst of his thoughts, Hyujin was then a little surprised when he saw a creature suddenly appear in front of them. Seeing their appearance, the creature then asked what they wanted to do. The creature looked like a fat fairy with wings behind her back. The fairy then pondered for a moment. Now that her eyes were on them, she's getting a feeling in her belly. He then found them a little attractive. Hearing that, Hyujin thought, this sensation, this is like when he looked toward Senia, this strange sensation of being able to see them with his eyes but not with eye of perception. Eye of perception is unable to sense beings of a much higher skill level than the user. In other words, she's a being he can't discern at his level, an intermediate administrator. Hyujin also recognized the little creature, the pixie, Seline. With her gaze fixed on Hyujin, Seline felt that he seemed to have something special. That's what her belly was telling her. It was telling her there's something special about Hyujin. After thinking for a moment, Seline then asked if he was a little older than he looked. She got the feeling of a veteran from him, but when she found out that Hyujin was from the Korean server, she then felt sorry. She get the strong feeling she picked the wrong server. Hearing her disappointed tone, Hyujin then thought, in the past, this intermediate administrator was ranked among the top 3 in the Japanese server with her moniker Rising Star Excavator. If Seline is here, that means there are players. She's streaming somewhere in the gate. Seline continued, she's not sure what it is about him yet, but she think they'll run into each other occasionally. After saying that, Seline then left from there. Seeing her leave, Hyujin thought, he can't say for sure whether there's really a player here who already awakened right of the heels of Japan's tutorial, but there are other things he know for certain. The turtle nest is the gate that broke. If there are players inside, they'll fail to clear the gate and perish within. Ending his inner thoughts, Hyujin then opened the item shop and bought the gate map. Yanseo was then confused to see it. Hyujin explained, it's an item that shows you your party members' locations inside the gate in real time. Even though he said so, but Yanseo hesitated when she saw the price in the item shop. She didn't expect Hyujin to spend 1,000 coins for that item. Hearing her confusion, Hyujin said that this was cheaper than a life. Hearing that, they then didn't hesitate anymore, and bought the item in the item shop. Hyujin then explained briefly about the item. The activation word is gate map. The instructions for use should be there too. If they get into danger, need help, or need to say something, they can send a signal via the mini-map. If they were not in danger but wanted to send an alert, then select yellow. If it was dangerous, then select red. He told them to keep their eyes on the mini-map while they were moving. He also warned them to be careful and not too noisy, since that could draw unexpected aggro. He then asked if they understood. Yanseo said yes, it was quite clear to her. Hyujin said that's good. He then said he would explain the plan. They will split up into pairs and search for anything that might give them a clue to the clear. He then grouped Yu Hyun with Yanseo, while he himself would be with Manhwa. While pointing in a direction, Hyujin said he would search this side. He also said, if anything happens, he told them to ping him with the gate map. Hyujin then emphasized to them, and most importantly, always watch your step. A swamp like this typically has a few bogs. Yanseo understood, since this is the way the cookie crumbled. She then invited Yu Hyun to do his best. She also called him a muscle man. Hearing that, Yu Hyun then confusedly asked if she was talking to him. Yanseo said who else if not him. Hearing that, Yu Hyun then asked her to at least call him by his real name. Yanseo then asked him not to be so stiff. Calling him a muscle man would be amazing. Yu Hyun could only resign himself to hearing that. In the middle of their debate, the intermediate administrator who followed So Yu Hyun was now worried. He was confused about why so many guardians suddenly left his channel. This was the channel that aired So Yu Hyun, the tutorial ender. Moreover, they even had Shin Yanseo here, someone who got the interest of the true master of the heavenly demonic mountain. The two of them were completely unaware of the problem. Yanseo then invited him to rush to find the clear crystal. Seeing her who looked so hurried, Yu Hyun then asked her not to walk so far away from him. The intermediate administrator then realized something, and turned to Senia. He then asked if they all went to Senia's channel. He really didn't expect to lose in a contest of content. He also wondered just how many are flocking to that one human, to a guy pulling ahead by some unknown means, but he suddenly got an idea. He then grinned and thought that he could use that, the fact that no one knows anything about him because of his exclusive contract. He then contacted the Guardians, and asked them if they didn't think it was very strange. He was talking about player Kim Hyujin and Senia, even before this. There's the fact he knew various things in the Korean server before the others, and now, he was even telling the others how to use the gate map. He then once again asked the Guardians, weren't they curious, didn't they want to know if they were using illegal means? In the middle of so Yu Hyun intermediate administrator was slandering Hyujin and Senia. Yu Hyun and Yanseo themselves were crossing the swamp carefully. They were very careful of their steps, knowing that if they were not careful they could slip. Yu Hyun then said that Hyujin said to keep the chatter to a minimum. Hearing that, Yanseo replied that she understood, she just have to stay quiet, and as they continued their steps, Yu Hyun was then a little surprised when he saw something nearby. There was a monster that resembled a turtle. He then told the existence of the monster to Yanseo. Yanseo was a little surprised to see it. The monster was a level 11 gold turtle. They then relaxed a little after knowing that the monster was only level 11. Yanseo then asked should they try killing it. Hearing that, Yu Hyun thought for a moment then answered no. He suggested sending a yellow ping to Hyujin first. But what they didn't know was, a red ping suddenly appeared on the minimap. The gold turtle seemed to realize the danger. It then immediately hid in its shell. Yu Hyun was then confused to see it. Why did it suddenly hide? In the midst of his confusion, Yanseo then called him then told him to look in a direction. There was a very large sack containing a lot of turtle monsters, which were now being dragged by a man. Seeing that, they then asked what he was doing. If he's a player, Yu Hyun then tried to call the man using English, with stammering English. Yu Hyun then asked if he was Japanese and if he was a player, also whether it was the result of his hunt, with half-baked English. The man then replied no, this turtle monster's defense is very strong. Seeing the interaction between the two of them, Yanseo then asked if he was sure he was able to actually communicate. Yu Hyun then explained what he caught from his conversation with the man. So basically, he caught them, but can't kill them because their defense is too high. He think that's why he's gathering them. He's guessing he's going to drag the gold turtles to the water and then try to deal with them. Hearing that, Yanseo really didn't expect Yu Hyun to know so much from just a few words. In any case, she then asked what should they do now. They had sent the signal, so should they wait for Hyujin to come? Yu Hyun thought for a moment. He also didn't know what action to take at the moment, so he then decided to just wait for Hyujin to come. In a place not far from where the two of them were, the Japanese man suddenly felt something from behind him. After that, they then heard a scream from the direction of the Japanese man. Feeling very panicked, the Japanese man then shouted for help. He ran as fast as possible because there was a monster chasing from behind him, but unfortunately, his leg then seemed to be bitten by the monster. He felt tremendous pain due to that. Seeing that, Yu Hyun then asked is it in that bog? When his body was dragged into the swamp, the Japanese man hysterically said that he didn't want to die, and once again shouted for help. When the Japanese man was about to completely sink into the swamp, he suddenly held Yanseo's legs firmly. Yanseo was then surprised to see that. She was also amazed at the man's extraordinary strength, but she was then shocked when she saw the appearance of the monster chasing the Japanese man. Yu Hyun was also surprised when he saw the bog suddenly extended here, while Yanseo herself was now confused about what she should do. If he keeps grabbing onto her, she will get dragged in with him. But she was so confused about what to do. When Yanseo was in a dilemma, Hyujin then came and immediately sent a slash towards the Japanese man's hand that was gripping Yanseo's leg. The slash managed to cut off the man's hand. Yanseo was then shocked to see that. Hyujin then called her and asked if she wanted to be pulled together with the man. Swamp Alligator, a monster at around level 17. Its stats aren't actually that strong, but in a bog, it functionally becomes at least as strong as a level 25 monster. Killing one while it's in a swamp is extremely tricky. Since the bog acts as a shield for the alligator, it's impossible to hunt without high penetration attacks. Hyujin at that moment saw a red dot on the minimap. He then said to Manhwa that he would go on ahead. He told her to follow at her own pace. Manhwa could only be confused hearing that. Hyujin then used a flash step, and quickly headed towards the two of them. Unlucky enough, Yeonseo is getting grabbed at while they're in the bog. For some reason, the future Sword Empress is wallowing. Without being able to shake off that single hand, the Guardians watched the scene with great interest. And in the midst of Yeonseo's dilemma, Hyujin then came and immediately slashed the hand in half. Yeonseo could only be dumbfounded at that. Hyujin then said that if she was dragged in, she could die too. Even so, Yeonseo still hesitated. Her mind went blank. With the Japanese man's frightened look appearing in her head, she thought, it's not because she was scared, she just couldn't figure out what to do in her panic. She knew it would be bad if Hyujin hadn't cut off his hand. Yeonseo then apologized to him. Hearing her apology, Hyujin said that she didn't need to apologize to him. He just told her don't forget there wouldn't have been a next time if she had been unlucky. Hearing that, Yoo Hyun then hesitantly asked what he would do now. Hyujin quickly replied, of course kill it. Yoo Hyun could only be surprised to hear that. He also confusedly asked how. At the moment so Yoo Hyun asked that, Manhwa finally arrived there. Hearing her confusion, Hyujin explained, it just ate, so it'll get sleepy and come on to land soon. Hearing that, Manhwa then asked if he said the monster would come up to take a nap. Hyujin only replied that he felt he had seen it having a trait like that in his precognitive dream. He then invited them to wait and see. For now, their conversation was overheard by Seline and Senia, who were watching them from behind. Seline was surprised when she heard Hyujin was a player with precognitive dreams. No wonder her belly was tingling, but she guessed, even if he had a precognitive dream, it seems like he didn't see that player dying just now. Still, incomplete as it is, that level of foresight is more than enough, she also thought. If she had to sign an exclusive contract in the beginner period, doing it with a guy like him would be best. But what he didn't know was, Hyujin had made an exclusive contract with a certain intermediate administrator. While they were watching the bog there, they then saw the alligator that surfaced, and seemed to be walking towards the land. Seeing that, Yoo Hyun then coated his hand with mana and said we'll go clobber it to death. Hyujin was quite surprised to see him already able to coat mana on his hand. The Fist King is indeed the Fist King. That's usually only barely possible once you leave the beginner stage. But he was then surprised when Yeonseo suddenly said that she would kill it. When he turned to her, he then saw her state. She was now rage, cool-headed, and rational. Seeing that, Hyujin couldn't help but think, Yeonseo's already grown one stage higher, cool-headed, but full of killing intent. She shed a lot of her civilian skin from what just happened. Realizing that, he then invited Yeonseo to do so. He also told her, the weakness of animal monsters is usually in their heads. Yeonseo understood. She then mounted her attacking stance, then rushed towards the monster. The alligator seemed to realize something when Yeonseo quickly approached towards it. It then became alert, but before it could even react, Yeonseo had already attacked its head using her sword slash. A system notification then appeared telling her that the alligator had been killed. She really killed the monster with one sword slash. Manhwa was amazed when she saw her action. Hyujin also thought, to think she's already reached this stage even without flash steps. She might even be growing faster than the Shin Yeonseo he knew. After finishing off the alligator, Yeonseo then caught her breath for a moment, but she was then surprised when she saw the system notification that appeared in front of her. She got a drop item, Swamp Alligator Claw, quest item, the claw of a swamp alligator, present it to an intermediate administrator to receive a quest. She then gave the item drop to Hyujin. And Hyujin handed it to the intermediate administrator who followed him, Senia. Senia then said, a quest has been issued to the player who presented the item, Kim Hyujin. 5 items are required to complete the progress quest. Hearing that, Hyujin thought, Yeonseo gave him the quest she discovered. He knew there's no way she's in the dark about how much there is to gain from completing it. Hearing that 5 items are required to complete the progress quest, Manhwa then asked if they needed to catch the 4 monsters again. She was still not sure how to hunt them. Hyujin did not answer her confusion, and asked Senia to open the item shop. While looking at the item shop in front of him, Hyujin thought, fighting it in the bog is suicide. They have to lure it up to shore to kill it. Like before, the nameless observer and 4 guardians cannot wait to hear his response. It came out of the water just now to eat a player, in which case, Hyujin then bought a beginner spear in the item shop. But he was then confused when he saw Yeonseo's state, which showed that she was scared. He suspected that Yanseo wanted to use the others as a sacrifice to lure crocodiles or something. Yanseo looked at him like a monster. Hyujin then took out the lean meat from the black yak and put it on the tip of his spear. It was a food ingredient that could make the eater very full even with a very small amount. He got the item in the Soul Station dungeon, where he met Juhuan. He thought it would be useful someday. But who would have thought that time was now? He then invited them to find another bog now. Seeing the meat on the tip of his spear, Yu Hyun then realized. So they're going to use this to lure the alligators. Hyujin confirmed it. This is alligator fishing. He asked if it was his first time. Hearing that, Yanseo then hesitantly asked, can he really catch an alligator with something like this? Hyujin answered, if it eats the meat. He then told them to stay alert. There's no knowing when one will pop out and clamp into their ankles, if they get bitten. He told them to cut off their legs immediately, and Hyujin then carried out his plan. He then placed the meat on the bog using his spear. The plan seemed to go smoothly, because shortly after that, the alligator then appeared and ate the bait. Seeing that, Hyujin thought, the special characteristic of black yak's lean meat, written in the item description, eating even a small amount will give you an immense feeling of satiety. Even just a few chunks will make you feel way fuller than eating a person whole. A swamp alligator has a habit of going onto shore to rest once it's full. As soon as it does so, the fearsomeness it displays in the bog vanishes into thin air, leaving an ordinary level 18 monster, just as the alligator revealed itself. Yu Hyun rushed towards it while coating his hands with mana, then sent a strong fist towards the alligator. The others were not silent. Sunhwa teamed up with Yanseo to finish the alligator. While Sunhwa was holding the alligator, Yanseo then came and killed the alligator using one sword slash. Finishing off an alligator out of the water isn't hard. Even someone like him with memories of the future knows barely anything about the turtle nest. What he knows is that it's a gate that broke due to failed clear, but for a gate with no set clear strategy, they've cleared it easily enough. Sunhwa looked happy after getting an item drop. After killing the alligator, Hyujin then said to Senia that they had collected all the swamp alligator claws. Hearing that, Senia was silent for a moment then replied that she understood. Seeing her attitude, Hyujin then asked, is there a mistake somewhere? Senia replied, that is not the case. Shortly after that, Hyujin then got a system notification informing him that the quest Swamp Alligator Claw acquisition has been cleared. Receiving quest reward, he got the turtle nest map, a map of the turtle nest. It marks the primary features of the turtle nest. Seeing that, Hyujin thought, having a map basically means the gate is good as cleared. It tells you pretty much everything about the gate. After all, as he thought, it's a backwards quest line where you have to first clear a quest for hunting swamp alligator before you can complete the quest for clearing the turtle nest. After looking for a while, Hyujin finally found it. The turtle nest.